To go live and then I can share it. I think we are going live.
Do you hear me well?
Oh, I hear you beautifully. You're like a bell in my ear. Safari. Let me quit this Chrome. And I've got to share this. Keep chatting amongst yourselves a minute. Why not?
So go on, Susie. Go on with what.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about it in a minute. Hold on.
Right, then.
Give me a second.
I think we're live already. So
yeah, we are. How is everybody anyway? Just while I'm sharing this. Hold on.
Well, actually better and better. And I'll tell you why. And maybe
you look a lot better, Susan. You did last week as well.
Thank you.
You did, because I was very worried about you. I began to rant on Facebook.
Yeah, I was telling Danielle that you telling me, oh my God, you don't look good. That actually influenced me in the negative way. I said, oh my goodness. This is the power of hypnosis. If two people tell you, oh, you look bad, you start feeling bad. And this is, I think, one of the reasons for anxiety, because everybody keeps saying out there how bad this is. And yes. We're vibrating and we're in tune with that. But yeah, I've been through some challenging times, and we have to go through the bottom of the pit to sometimes to go up. And
it's a process. It's always a change. Change can only be a process.
Everything is a process. Isn't that one of the NLP?
It is
NLP presuppositions. Yeah, everything is a process.
Everything is a process, and sometimes we don't like it, and sometimes we don't want it. I've got a really excellent example of this. We don't want what we think we want. My daughter's new baby, she's 6 months old now. She's not sleeping. She's sleeping very well, but not in the night. She's struggling to settle in the night.
Yeah.
And we have a WhatsApp group with all Lizzie's sisters on there, and they've all been giving her advice and saying, well, you could do this, or are you not doing that, or you need to do that, and this and this and this. And Lizzie is saying, oh, but that doesn't suit Annabelle. And so the only thing I only wrote one message on that thread was, I want to give you a reframe. If you want things to change, you cannot stick to what Annabelle likes. That's what you're getting now. You're getting the results now of what Annabelle likes.
Yeah, it's routine. There's lots routine. Just getting into a pattern. Right, I'm going to just say good morning.
Yeah.
Right. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, world. Today, we are talking about something that we are all flipping familiar with, every single one of us, anxiety. Because at the moment, well, anxiety is going through the roof for so many people, including myself, in different areas of my life, because I'm having some building work done at the moment. And it was funny, actually, because I was going to talk about this, because at the moment I'm getting Ethan's having a bathroom put in. You don't know this, Susanna. You don't know this. I'm just telling Linda about it. Ethan's getting a bathroom put in his room.
But yes, it isn't mentioned it to me. I know. I'm aware of it.
Oh, I
told me, yeah.
Oh, see, I forget. But yeah, so he's getting this bathroom, but it's not an easy job, right? It's so basically, from where the bathroom is, we have to dig through my bedroom and through my bathroom to get to the out, right? So we were looking at it, and it's an 8-inch at least drop that we've got to go. So it's a big flipping hole, and it's complete. I mean, you can see a little bit of the boxes in here, right? There's boxes going on. There's boxes everywhere, right? And my shower's broken, so I can use it for a shower, but it does other things and it's broken. So I've got to get mine done anyway. So we just get everything done at the same time. But it was weird because last night, 2 days ago, they started digging in Ethan's room, and it was the noise for me. It puts me on edge. You know, it's that drilling, it's that consistent drilling. And then he couldn't get through the wall. So last night, Costa came in with Vass, my boyfriend, and he started and he started drilling through the wall. He got through the wall because it's like a thick wall, right? He got through the wall and he started drilling down, and it went on for a couple of hours, and the noise and it was, and he'd had a couple of drinks as well, because after he'd done the whole day's work and then came home and done this. But I went into the room and he was a bit kind of thing, right? And there was this hole in my floor, and I looked into this hole and I instantly felt the biggest anxiety. And it was a mixture of, it was weird. It's only just now that I've realized what it was, right? But I felt all panicky. But it was a mixture of, I think it was when my grandpa got buried when I was really young, and it was looking into the ground, right? Because it had gone through the plastic and through, because obviously we're going to have to reseal it. We're going to have to put all the black tar around it, whatever it is that you've got to do, and then plastic, and then the pipes. But because it's going down through the water, you know, the drain thing, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. But you've got to go through. But underneath there, you see different colours in the concrete, so the damp rising, and it instantly brought it back to, I think it was looking into the grave.
Yeah.
And that triggered me. That alongside the noise, and then alongside Costal being a bit pissed, to put it nicely, and the Costal being pissed because I was in a state of anxiety, that took me back again as well to the place where my ex-partner had been so drunk that we went to this festival. This is going back, I don't know, 15 years ago now, and he was so drunk, he used to drink a lot, and he was so drunk that I was in bed, it must have been about, I don't know, maybe midnight. I had a gig the next day, so I was getting up and I was going off to a gig. But we were in a tent. I'd set the tent out all nice, and I'd gone to bed probably about 11:30, just so I could get some sleep, ready for getting up early. And while I was lying in this bed that I'd made, this thing, there was a thud next to me, right? There was a thud outside the thing. It was this far away from my head, right? And what happened was I came out, I was petrified. I came emerging out the tent, everyone's sitting around, right? And it turned out that one of his friends had fallen over, because they're all absolutely legless, right? At a festival, I mean, you can say, that's fine, I haven't got a problem with that, but it was the fear. And he'd fallen over one of the tent poles, and I'm not joking, I would have been killed. I'm talking millimeters. It was next to my head, right? And he was a big man. Oh, Susanna's disappeared. She's coming back in a minute, I'm sure. So it fell completely next to my head and almost literally killed me. And I came out, and all my ex did was, because he was so drunk, was just laughing. They were laughing at me, just laughing. Oh, you're all right, aren't you? You're all right. But the fear, the panic, that was real. And I was so scared, you know. And so I think that triggered from Costal being drunk, the hole in the ground from the grave, and the fact that my house it's like you can imagine concrete everywhere. Everything's completely screwed in my house, boxes everywhere, everything. And the fact that there's no escape, there's nowhere to go. Suzanne, you're back.
She's back. So what did you do to handle that?
Well, all I could do is I recognised that I was in an anxious state. It's happened a few times really in my life, right? But last night I realised I was in an anxious state, and I just had to get away. So I slept with Ethan last night in his bed, because that's the only place I could sleep, because there's a sheet up so it keeps the dust out. So I slept there, and Costal came in, and I was like, look, I just can't speak to you at the moment, because you can't communicate properly with someone that's had some drink, right? You just can't. My past, I've had a lot of stuff like that going on, and it puts me on edge, and I've recognized now that I just can't. I need to be away. And luckily enough, he wasn't that drunk that he turned around, was, you know, he wasn't abusive, and it was like he understood. And he left, and I just went to sleep. I went to sleep with Ethan, but I had to remove myself from the situation, and I had to look from perspective. And that perspective was where I got about the ground, and where I got about my ex with the tent. So from that was a very powerful place.
Were you able to help yourself to understand that was all in the past, and that was not now?
Yes,
that was not happening now.
I recognized that, and I realized I came to, well, all I could do was come very present, zoom out a little bit and look from perspective and realize that, you know, all of this is going on, but it won't be forever. And, you know, and there wasn't a fight or flight problem. There wasn't a problem like that. So
no,
you know,
there isn't a real problem.
There was no conflict, you know. It was just, it's just a very stressful situation, you know, and the anxiety that it invited in was extremely powerful. But you see, I remember a point going back before I met Cos, and I paid. It's just me and Ethan. I was looking after him on my own, and I was paying for my house to get like insulated. Susanna's having problems with her internet, and I was paid my pupil's dad, who was apparently a renderer or whatever he did. I paid him £12,000 out, and I remember one day it was getting towards the winter, and he'd let me down a lot, right? And he wasn't coming back, and I paid him all the money, and it was just me and Ethan. So I was really, you know, it was really a stressful time then. And it was getting towards the winter, and everything was just hanging off the walls. All the money I'd paid out to him and for all the materials, it was getting ruined, you know, and it's coming towards the winter. And I remember there was a time that I was so anxious, and I remember going out about 2 o'clock in the morning, just looking at it, and it was raining, and I was wearing a dressing gown, and I was like, I couldn't breathe, you know. I was like literally in a state of panic.
Panic
attack. Panic attack. It was a panic attack brought on from the anxiety about I couldn't control the situation. I couldn't control it in any way, and so that was my lowest point. That was my lowest point at that time, and I remember that. I had to kind of like zoom out and breathe. And like, I didn't know my NLP at the time, so I had to like kind of deal with the situation. But all I could do is what I could do. So the next day, I'd made that decision that I'd lost the money with him, and I was going to try and find someone to fix it, you know. And I did, and that's how I actually met Coastal, which is the weirdest thing, because his firm came in and fixed it. So it was a weird story, but yeah, that state of anxiety is so powerful, and
it's disabling, isn't it? And you know, in NLP, what we say is the purpose of NLP is always to give you more options.
That's right.
And I've experienced, not in all situations, but I've had some excellent experiences of being able to choose from a menu of options instead of being triggered with things. Usually it would be what someone has said to me is usually what would trigger me, rather than circumstances, maybe sometimes circumstances. And it is marvelous that that nothing is driving you to be ridiculous or be angry or be
scared. I was just scared.
Unhelpful or be scared. Yes.
Yeah.
It's fabulous. So we're always looking for ways to open up options, I guess. Can we bring it down to that?
Absolutely.
At the time that we're offered, and if we get it early enough, we can get in to refuse that offer. I wonder if we could explore that today.
That'd be nice.
Because once you've been triggered, for me, it's too late. Once I've been, I had a couple of experiences. We talked of it, didn't we, last week? Where I had a couple of experiences. One that went really well.
Yes.
Because the person said nice things to me, and the other where I took offence and was triggered at what the other person did, and I was lost. Somebody was saying to me, "But could you not have?" No, I could not. but wouldn't it have been better to? It would, but I could not.
That's right.
Next time, could you not? No. Next time, if I'm triggered, I'm in it, aren't I? There isn't that opportunity for options.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's how it seems. Sorry, I should be very careful with my language. That's how it seems to be. So I wonder, how can we get in before we're thrown into the mire?
That's right. It's the triggers, isn't it? It's the triggers that set you off. And it's see, the now state's so powerful because it literally, and grounding yourself, recognizing, you know, if you're in a state of anxiety, what's real right now. And, you know, the grounding techniques, isn't it 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things that you can touch, isn't it? 2 things that you can taste and 1 thing that you can smell. So it's the 5 things, or I might have got them a bit back.
But if you're triggered, well, for me, if I'm triggered, there's no time for that.
Yeah.
There's no time for me to even remember it. It might rescue me afterwards, though not in a conversation, because you haven't got time for that.
I think when you're getting triggered, sometimes when you're triggered, it is fight or flight. It's your body's inbuilt system, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And there's an issue, isn't there? So perhaps what we should be saying is, if you're being triggered in that situation where there absolutely is nothing, what comes out of your mouth you're not in control of, it's coming and you can't stop it, then that needs professional help. That can be addressed.
And anxiety, it's recognised that anxiety is a thought and not a feeling as well.
It is. It's that thought. It's that. Can I give my formula again? I may have done it again before. We tend to feel, here is circumstance, and then there's a straight line, and here is how we feel. Yeah. And therefore that justifies how we feel, because this is an awful circumstance. Look, this person did this to me, or this, you know, whatever it is, or I'm unable to go, I'm isolated. So of course that justifies this feeling, but it isn't a straight line in between. In between comes the thought, circumstance, thought, feelings.
Yeah, that's right. It's just finding the.
So can we get in the thought, and can we train ourselves, because not everybody, we're aiming in these talks, aren't we, to help everybody?
Yes.
And not everyone is able to get professional help. So I wonder, can we train ourselves once we hear we've been triggered? The first word out of my mouth was no. It was a loud no.
Protection.
So once I've heard no, then could I train myself to take that as a warning and make a better choice?
Yeah, interesting. Susanna?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I've been in and out. My internet connection was not that
You're
good.
in. You're so in right now.
You're in the in crowd now.
Yes.
This is the in crowd.
Go now. Well, actually, I have so many things to say about anxiety, because anxiety has been my, if you're on my partner, my life's partner, and probably you know, or if you don't, I'm telling you now, it's in Ayurveda, and this Indian science of medicine. We're looking at the elements and what's predominant in your body. And there's Vata, there's Pitta, and there's Kapha. And Vata is the wind, and Pitta is the bile, and Kapha is the mucus. And so we're all born with a certain tendency, and that tendency shows as an excessive state of that dosha. So if you have too much wind, if you are of a wind nature, your body tends to produce wind excessively. If you have a water tendency or a kapha tendency, then your body tends to produce too much water, regardless of what you're doing. I mean, by itself, the body produces that. And each of these doshas come with a certain emotion, predominant emotion, or a set of predominant emotions, which are of a vata or of a pitta or a kapha nature. And the emotion that is corresponding to the vata dosha is anxiety, fear, and restlessness. And so anxiety is also a component of the body. And let us remember that we are a sum of patterns and models, right? I mean, I've been having this experience lately, and I still have a hard time to put it into words. I'll have to allow it to transform into some concrete substantial experience to be able to share it. But in briefly, it is the realization that the whole thing that I'm observing, it's observed through the prism of my own inner experience. So if my body type, or if my profile is of a Vata, let's say, just generally speaking, of a wind type, then I would tend towards anxiety, whatever happens. It could be a beautiful thing and I can get anxious about it. It could be a real trigger or a false trigger and I would get anxious, excited, if I'm a Vata nature, or if my Vata is disturbed, then I would probably I will do too many things at a time, and I will be too agitated, and I would provoke change, and I will be scared of that change. So that's the challenge of Vata people, that they want change because they can't stay still. They're hyperactive, but at the same time, they are afraid of this change. So it's a vicious circle. I generate this change, and I have hard time coping with it. Now, this is one aspect, and of course, it will be good if you have that constitution. That we see it in the body. So the thinner, and the more slim you are, and tiny or petite you are, the more Vata you are. So this is both of you, this type of people in your entourage, in your environment. So the people that are hyper agitated, always active. So these people will actually, in these circumstances that we're living through now, and that's total change that's happening. Imagine if you already have a constitution that way, you're already more anxious than the great majority. So a good thing would be to look into that and see your body type, because there are many ways that you can deal with anxiety through Ayurveda. There are some herbs that you can take, the way you eat, and you can help the body calm down. Because what's anxiety? What is it? It's a state, right? It's a state in the body. That's a hyperaction, hyperactivity in the body. And basically, what was else that I wanted to say? You have also the states that are generated by events, but that shows a pattern in you. Yeah. And you were asking, Linda, how do we do when that trigger comes? Well, you see, maybe just being aware that you have this trigger. You have, as you said, if you don't have the capacity to see a professional and get professional help, the first thing you do is you notice it. But that's the hardest part to do, because we don't want to look at bad things in ourselves. But one very first, and the first layer that can be revealed is the awareness of what's going on. Because coming back to the idea that we are a sum of patterns, who am I in this? Who am I in this? I'm asking this to both of you. Who are we in this sum of patterns? Who are we?
We're the victim. Well,
no, we are the observer. We are the observer.
They have to us as well, though. So we're bringing it with us.
No, because from the Ayurvedic and Vedic perspective, we are embodying this, and this physical and mental sum of patterns does not belong to me. I am the witness. I am the consciousness. I am the light that activates and animates this body. I am the witness. I am here to see. I am here to see, and seeing is transforming. So just the first step you do when you have this trigger, you notice, you at least become aware. You take a conscious breath. That in itself could make a major impact. And think of let me take a napkin to show you. This is a layer, and this is the consciousness, and this is the layer that surrounds me, and this is one of them. I have plenty of them. But imagine that this is the layer of anxiety. And the first time anxiety comes and I am triggered and I feel that, if I stop just for a moment and I take a conscious breathing, or just become aware, just decide, okay, I'm here. You know what happens? I'm sorry for the gesture, but there'll be a little, okay? Next time I do it, there'll be another one, okay? And eventually this tissue will start to crack more and more and more. And it will go away. So to me, this is about anxiety, or it could be about any other pattern that is there. And the thing is that you have to remember, but if it's so painful, that pain, use that pain to remind you, hey, that pain right now can pull me into taking a conscious breath. That's all. I take a deep breath and I observe.
Nice.
So what that shows me is when this is fascinating, Susie.
It is, isn't it?
When I'm triggered, I want to go with what's triggered. I've just noticed, actually, I don't want to stop it.
Following. What do you mean?
See, I get that.
I don't want to stop it. I want, if that person has done something, said something, looked at me in a funny way, I want to respond in that triggered
yes,
with that
you
triggered
don't like
response.
the pain and the bad feeling that gives. So that's
I don't.
That's where you can flip it. You don't like how you feel. You want to punish the other person, but you don't like the way you feel.
Yeah,
that in itself should be
and it's not who I want to be. But I hadn't noticed that I actually want to do it in that moment. So there's a moment of power for me, isn't there? I can not want it.
Yes.
Set my mind to, because I haven't set my mind then.
That's right.
I've not set my mind to never behaving this way again. I've gone, oh no, see, it's trigger, can't help it. Yeah. Ooh.
It's almost, see, the thing is, it's almost like when we're triggered into that anxiety, we're comfortable because we know that it's a comfortable thing because we're comfortable with the fact that we've got anxiety. Oh, it's anxiety, it's comfortable. I know what it is, but it's that stopping, getting out that comfort zone and see, to me, it's just so powerful zooming out and looking at what the situation can bring to me, looking from a fly on the wall perspective and looking at the situation. When you're so zoomed in on something, that's when that paranoia starts, and it's the fear and the anxiety and the breathlessness and the panic and the shaking and, all of the things that come with being in that state. Whereas if you can zoom out in the situation and look down at what is really going on, look at me right now. I'm like a wreck. Do I want to be like a wreck? Okay, I'm a wreck because of this situation that's going on. But now let's look at it from a different perspective and trying to get that perspective in it. So you can get reason and bring that with you.
So can I ask Susie, is this along the same lines, Susie, as what you're saying, what you're talking about witnessing?
Could you please repeat? I think I didn't get the first part of your question.
So what Danielle's talking about, the technique of pulling back, so that you've got a bigger perspective. Would that be part of what you're talking of as witnessing? Could that be
for sure? Because every time you see, that's a distinction that we do in we make in the Vedas and all the spiritual sciences. It's the mechanical versus conscious, the automatic versus conscious and aware. So every time you do something with awareness and with consciousness, like I want to do that now, rather than responding in a mechanical way, then yes, it's part of this process, whatever that is. Just simply asking yourself the question, stopping, even if it started, even if you feel already like you're triggered to the max. Yes. If you have that little awareness right then in the moment, just stop a moment and say, okay, what is real and true now? And take a deep breath. Even just by doing that, you can make that fall. You want me to do it again?
The visuals. I love you.
No, but there is something, because you mentioned something very important, Linda. You said that it's you want it. Of course you want it. And that part of you wanting to do that is part of the pattern.
Yes.
The pattern is not just simplistic things. It's like a net. It's like and it's beautiful because patterns are beautiful, but it is a part of a net of patterns. So there is the aspect of the anxiety, and then there is the part of you that likes that anxiety, and the part that is addicted to that anxiety, and the part that is triggered by others. So the whole spiritual process, because this is what we're talking about. There is no solution in here, down there, at this level. There is not. The individual has the duty towards this divinity and towards oneself is to start to extract more and more and to raise the frequency from the lower to the higher. This is what's all about. At the end of the life, this is what mattered. Not how many people you triggered and how many people triggered you. And what mattered is how much above all that have you raised, and how much of the jewel of that. Remember, Danielle, we were talking the other day, that there is always a gift or a treasure, a jewel hidden in this very particular lower frequency. And this is what we can do. What would be, let's identify it together. What could be the gift hidden in the anxiety?
Well, see, the thing,
what would that be?
The thing is, it's anxiety. It's yourself not taking control of the situation or letting things go to the point where you're anxious, and it can lead to depression in the greater scheme of things. So if you're taking control of that anxiety, that's what you can control.
Let's think of what's behind anxiety. What is it? Let's define it well. What are we talking about here? Linda, how would you describe anxiety?
It's future-based.
It's something that feels to be outside my control, and it's a mixture of a mental feeling or an emotional feeling and physical feelings.
But we use this word because there's every other emotion is that it's a mix of a mental and physical. What makes this one anxiety? How do you know it's anxiety?
So how do we know? So is that the same? Would that be the same as in NLP? We might say, how do you do anxiety? Tell me how you do anxiety. Would that give us the right thing? So how you do anxiety is you think about what could go wrong.
Okay.
and it's going to be in the future because it's not gone wrong right now.
Yeah.
So you think about what could go wrong, and then you worry and worry and worry about it until the time has passed and it maybe hasn't gone wrong. But you're used to that pattern, so you will do that again the next time.
So you're telling yourself something then, or you imagine something.
You're imagining that it's or even not necessarily going wrong, but it isn't going to go right. Because my anxiety, in the past, I have experienced an anxiety disorder for years and years and years. These days, that's not what I experience, but I do experience some anxiety where of a different nature, where I'm thinking things will not go the way I want them to go. I'm anxious that things will not go the way I want them to go. Perhaps in business, or I'm anxious that my skills are not enough, not for the treatment, but my skills in business.
So let's go and look then a little bit further and see what would be because obviously if you do it, remember in NLP we say that every behavior has a positive intention.
That's right.
So if this anxiety was playing a positive role, what would that be? What's
protection, isn't it? It's protection.
Protecting from what?
See, anxiety, the more we fear the future, what this could happen, you're creating a picture and you're inviting it in, and that picture is extremely powerful. So if you can recognize that you're creating this picture, how big is this picture? Can you actually play with that picture? Can you shrink it? Can you replace that picture with the best case scenario and put it in its place? Can you do, if you're inviting in the negativity because it's future fear-based, can you also imagine how great it could be?
The thing is, sorry to interrupt you, and Linda will probably understand what I'm saying now. is that when you're going through a situation when things are bad, because
Yeah,
there is a reality, it's very hard to do that, because
Yes.
it is.
you don't imagine it. That's why it's different for
No,
you.
no, I understand. No, I understand.
You're not imagining things. You
No.
are dealing with a situation which is difficult. So
I understand.
that has to be done in a slightly more how to say, more delicate towards the situation itself. For me, for instance, when my girl was to be had the surgery to be operated for her back problem, I really had a hard time picturing this, everything will be nice. And I had to work in a different way, and everybody probably has their own. But what was the question that I was asking? Like, what would be the role, Linda? What would be the role of anxiety, generally speaking?
What would be the purpose? For what purpose?
For what purpose?
Yeah, for what purpose? It seems to be there to make sure, for me, in the example I've given, it's there to make sure I don't fail, because I won't like failing.
Protect.
So protection. And it's useless, of course, because it stops me doing anything. Or it can stop me doing anything.
So then how can we get to the jewel, because there is a positive intention we identify. Generally speaking, could be that most of the people are anxious, thinking that if they do that, they'll be protected.
Well, yes, and also you're prepared. If you've considered failure and you've looked it in the face, then you are prepared.
Oh God, this is so bad.
And one of the things that happens if you're not prepared is you can be shocked and traumatized.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I've learned this. I've seen this for my daughter, whose baby has just had open heart surgery, and she wanted to prepare herself. She has a constitution that invites anxiety into her life, and so she wanted to not suffer quite so much, and so she prepared herself by finding out, so that because shock just disabled her, and so she found out as much as possible of what was happening, what had other people's babies been like afterwards, just so that she knew of everything. And I can understand that. I think I'm like her. It is the shock. I didn't know this could happen. I didn't know they were going to do this. I didn't know that. I think I find that disabling as well.
So it somehow protects us from the shock in a way that
from shock.
Have some time to prepare in advance for the worst.
For the worst. We should do what Jack Reacher says, shouldn't we? You know, Jack Reacher, he says, prepare for the worst and expect the best.
Exactly, yeah. So what will be the jewelry then? Let's try to find out what could be that, what anxiety is pushing us actually to search, because every single negative experience or negative behavior has a jewel inside, and every lower frequency contains, if we're going in there and listen to this with that part of mind that can receive it now, it contains that pearl. There is a pearl, there is a diamond that is there in this mud. What would that be when it comes to anxiety? And we don't have to have an answer right now, but this is just a question launching like this, because your mind knows and our mind knows. And what I have discovered through the experience that I had with my own daughter was that, it's been 8 agonizing months in which I went through doctors, and it's unbelievable. Plus her studies, going to another city for her studies, bringing her back and forth, going with her, going to the doctors several times a week, visiting. I now looking back and I'm thinking, how did I do it?
So do you know
did I have the energy to do that? Where from? And the thing is, I discovered one of the jewelries, that's to give you a hint, is that when it happens, we can.
Yeah.
This is the big mistake and the big lie we're telling ourselves. And this is another NLP presupposition, is that we all have the resources that we need to deal with whatever is there. Yeah. But we are afraid. And the ultimate fear is fear of death and the fear of losing someone through death. This is the ultimate fear. And every single situation that brings us closer to this threshold is like scaring the beep out of us, because this is our ultimate fear, that we're going to be extracted from here one day. And the news is that we will.
Yes.
Guess what?
We are not getting out of this alive.
No. You know, it's acceptance, isn't it? It's acceptance of the unknown, of what we can't control.
The jewel in the anxiety, acceptance. I like that.
Yeah.
What else could it be? The jewel.
Choice and change. The choice that we can, where we focus, the choice where we focus. Because we do have a choice, even in our...
I think what I'm very focused on at the moment is, and trying to teach my followers, is that we can decide. And I think that's what you're saying, isn't it? We can actually make a decision.
Yeah.
We do have that. We have that right. We have that ability. And where we've made a decision, it will have power. Where we've made a decision beforehand, it will then have power in our life. And I think it's, I observe, and I see it in myself too, where I'm not even bothering to decide. Because I don't know why, because it just seems as if, why am I not bothering to decide?
Because it still serves you, see, because it still helps you.
It does. Yes, it serves me. It serves me to not decide to be effective, because then I quite enjoy just reading a book and drinking tea. And if I decide to be effective in my business, there will not be so much time for drinking tea and reading books. I was listening this morning to Joyce Meyer, Christian teacher, and she says you cannot. So we're talking about in Christian terminology, we're talking about the flesh, meaning our bodily needs, meaning that lower level of our needs and wants, as opposed to our spiritual needs and higher level needs. And she says you cannot ever give the flesh enough. It will always want more.
I like that.
And she's right. She goes on to say, you know, if you give it a pound of sugar a day in your cookies and your cupcakes and everything, it will want more. And if you stop giving it a pound of sugar a day, it will complain.
Yeah, it's
so.
Sorry.
So it's a fool's game, isn't it? Trying to assuage the flesh, the lower level needs.
It's when we are anxious, we are giving all of our power. We're giving it to that situation. That's the thing. And in that situation, we feel powerless. But our power is going to the situation, giving it.
We've still got it.
We've still got it.
We have. It hasn't got it, actually.
Yes, exactly, and we can change really that. You know, when we're like in that state of, you know, the fast breathing, the heartbeat, sweating, the panic, the tiredness, the depression feelings, all of those things, we're giving that situation all that power over us.
That's why it's there, because we fed it. Yeah,
exactly.
We feeded it.
when I used to suffer from, which is a long, long time ago now, I don't expect it anymore. When I suffered from anxiety and depression, I used to have panic attacks. They were absolutely vile, and like everybody else in a panic. So panic attack is different to an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
Panic attack, you believe you are going to die. It feels like you're going to die because everything feels so awful. You feel as if you can't breathe, so you're going to die. And initially, the first time I ever was able to control one was when I thought, in the end, it went on for hours and hours in the night. And I thought, well, I don't care, then I'll just die. It went instantly.
Yeah.
And what helped me longer term, because I couldn't always do that. I didn't always feel that I'd hit that rock bottom. But what eventually helped me to control it, and I used to teach it for a while, used to do workshops on it, was understanding what's happening in the body and why you feel it. And then it for me, it lost all its power then. When I understood what was happening physically, it's all about adrenaline. It's that spiral of adrenaline. You don't like the adrenaline experience, so you panic even more. And then more adrenaline. And eventually a panic attack will end when you are adrenally exhausted. That's when it will end of its own accord. And for me, I've had the offering of one during 2019. I had the offering of one twice, and which would start for me with tingles on my skin. And I just thought, I know what you are. And we're not doing this. I am not doing this. I know what you are. You are just adrenaline. You are not threat.
Nice.
I'm not threatened. And it just went away. Yeah. Now I know that if you're in the middle of experiencing panic attacks and you're not in that position, I know that is bloody annoying to hear. That's all you have to do. But you're right about the power, aren't you? It actually didn't really have any power. And I suppose by my studying it and learning all of that, that gave me what I could recognize as my power.
That's really interesting what you just said as well, because anxiety, it's what it's doing to your body. It's recognizing every little part of what it's actually doing to your body, and then taking control of each part bit by bit, because as a whole things seem overwhelming.
If
you break it down, you can control, you can calm it. And I loved what you said about rock bottom as well, because what you said about diamond, when you're at rock bottom, what do you find? You find the diamond, right? When you're at rock bottom, you find the diamond. And that is the truth. The truth.
Yeah.
So go on, Susanna.
Yeah, well, exactly. When you reach, because you were mentioning we're afraid of the shock.
Yeah.
Life is full of shocks, and there are several shocks that we go through in life. And basically, it's the moment. This shock is the moment when life is kind of your soul. We have to remember that this is a personal choice to be here in this body and live this, going precisely through this particular experience. I know it's nothing that you want to hear when you're going through it. Yeah, the hell I did. I didn't want this. Of course I didn't want it.
I never chose this.
I never chose this. But it is the moment when life is calling you to make up your mind, because you talked about spirituality, and to decide where you stand. Am I going through in this very, very difficult? We'll reach this bottom of something inside, and then we have to make a decision. Where am I standing? Am I going to give into this awful feeling, or I'm going to believe, to trust, to put my faith? If you're a Christian, to put your faith in Jesus, or to just simply, go on with what you believe in, and to believe in life, to believe in love. You are called at a certain point. We're all called for that. This is not life. even if we made it be so comfortable from many points of view, life still goes on at a certain level, biological, mental, emotional level goes on the same way. Yeah. We are just, packaged in nicer clothes and have better houses and better cars, but essentially we're this life forms that are evolving, super duper car or not. I mean, we are still into this process, and life is calling us at a certain point, once in a while, to remember, to make that decision and say, where am I standing now? What are my values? What do I want to stand for, regardless of what's going on? So that would be something. But what I wanted to tell you, Danielle, because you used the word control.
Yes.
And I think that if you want to control, the general rule is when you want to control, it gets stronger. So I would not use the word control when it comes to a state like this. It's more like what Linda said. Okay, I'm afraid I'm going to die. Okay, let's go with that. Let's
accept, let's do it. Accept it. Get on and do it.
Yeah, that's when you're
controlling it, it's allowing it. And what you're probably going to do, the now state, what happens in the now state is that we create that space where that beep, excuse my French, can actually exist. We are afraid of states. This is our worst fear. It's not even fear of death. Behind the fear of death, you know what it is? It's the fear of non-being. So we're always scared of bad states. We don't want to, and it's natural. We are biological being wired to experience pleasure and to dislike unpleasant moment because we want to survive. This is meant for survival. We look for pleasure to survive because what's good, what tastes good to my taste buds, it's probably edible, and then I'm not gonna poison myself by eating it. No. Mm-hmm. But essentially, I'm afraid of bad states. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
When I think
so when you allow it and you see that there's nothing behind it, then okay.
It's like yes. That's what I did with the anxiety state, wasn't it? By learning what actually is causing it. I saw there was nothing behind it. It's the Wizard of Oz, isn't it? It's just a little man with with the megaphone.
It's freeing yourself from that state, freeing yourself, taking it outside into the unknown. So, but when you're at rock bottom, I think that is the place for change. I think that is the place that we do decide and we do accept. Acceptance is so massive. And when we are at rock bottom, when I was standing outside looking in my flipping dressing gown, wearing no clothes in the rain, looking at everything going on, that was my rock bottom. And it was like, I was experiencing anxiety all the way through, but that was it. That was the rock bottom where I chose what I could do. But the thing is with anxiety, when you're going through it and you're not at rock bottom, but you're just experiencing anxiety, I think if you can break it down into sections of where you're feeling it and trying to calm each part of you, I think that that's so powerful, because recognizing that we do have control of something, we have control of our own thoughts and actions. So by bringing it inside and finding, where is that feeling? What parts of us are feeling bad? What parts of us, we might not be at the point for change and acceptance, I think.
Because sometimes we think it's rock bottom. We think, goodness me, surely this is rock bottom, but it isn't.
Yes.
Think, oh, it's bad enough now. No, I hate this, but it's not rock bottom.
And rock bottom is acceptance. That's exactly right. It is. Rock bottom is like, do you know what? Yeah. Zooming out and like, what is actually important.
It is what it is. So what can I do?
Yeah.
If it is what it is.
What can I change? What will change this situation? But sometimes it takes a load of anxiety to live through it to get to that point. And anxiety is just so, it's like maybe a fear of losing your job.
Can we also just talk a little bit about the fact that anxiety can become a habit?
Yes.
I've observed this. in people, and as a habit, then habits are comfortable.
That's right.
They? Habits are what we automatically do, and they're comfortable, and they're the known. They're the devil you know. And in the clients I've worked with who have suffered from anxiety for all of their life, it can be hard to make that change because it is associated with their identity.
Yeah.
True. As I said, it's, in Ayurveda, we look at it as a constitutional aspect. However, we have to remember, we were talking about this before we started recording. And I want people to hear this because it is a choice. It is a personal decision. No one will take you out of anything. It has to be very, 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 very clear. You're going to go on and suffer and be angry and be anxious and be whatever you're dealing with until you decide.
Yeah.
And that's the point of that rock bottom you mentioned before. Because you can come and say, oh yeah, but you know, I've been dealing with it all my life. It's going to be hard. Fine. But are you going to start to change it as of now? Are you going to put into that a little bit of effort or not?
And hard is okay, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hard is all right. This is so lovely. This session today. Something happened for me before we started, where I realized a lot of what we're talking of here. I was a bit concerned. I had not started the day as early as was useful, but I was tired. I didn't sleep well during the night, and I didn't do what I planned to do. And the plan wasn't formulated anyway. I was in a state of, well, let's just see what happens. And suddenly, probably from readiness, it's not a rock bottom, but probably from readiness, I heard what Joyce was saying, and she said other things as well. And I suddenly realized that I have the only way I am going to I'm going to make my life the way I want it to be, in as much as we can. We can't control every moment of it. But the only way I'm going to do that is to set about doing it. And isn't it? I can't be just going, oh no, I didn't do that yesterday because I don't know when it was time to do it. I didn't want to do it, or there didn't seem to be time, or I seemed to be tired. There's just, I've written down what you said, Susie, that what did you say? That in shock or in a state of anxiety or worry or whatever, life is calling you to make up your mind. Yeah. And I realized this morning, I have never made up my mind to have these achievements, these achievements that seem to be outside my control, because I've never made up my mind to do it. And you can have a few goes at it. So yes, I can plan a schedule for the week of activity, and maybe I won't do that the first week, but you pivot. Yeah. Once you've made up your mind to do it, then you pivot. You look at what happened, you work out, why did that? What could I do so that I could do that another time? Or am I trying to do too much? What do I have to change to make this plan workable? Because if truly it's not workable, then maybe there is something wrong with the plan. Then I can adjust the plan. But I have experience of setting my mind. to me, I call it setting my mind. I've just gone vegan at Christmas. From Christmas, I'm not bothered about meat. I was vegetarian for a long time, and then I wasn't. I don't care about meat. I care about dairy. That's what I care about. I care about full fat, organic, non-homogenized milk and cream and butter and cheese. That's what I care. That is what I care about. But it's been no problem because I set my mind. I had enough reason for health to become vegan, to start following a vegan diet. And I set my mind, and it's been no problem. I've never set my mind
powerful
in business. And so instead, I've taken that's the alternative, isn't it?
Yeah.
You either set your mind, make up your mind, or you just let what comes come.
You respond to what life throws at you.
Yeah. And then that's not any good. And then you think you're not good enough at it. And then,
So it has been an hour. I can't quite believe it because it feels like 5 minutes actually today. Wow. It actually feels like 5 minutes. But I just wanted to end, like, we can all end together really, but I wanted to end, like, anyone that's experienced anxiety at these times, there are resources out there, a lot of resources. I know that you've got, Linda, you've got your Calm resource that you can get on your...
Yes, I'll put that link. I'll put that link in.
Her version of the Now State, which is very, very calming. And I've got my anxiety course free for anyone that just wants to download it, if it can help anyone in these times. And Susanna, well, you're just generally amazing as well.
I can do Ayurveda consultation as well and help people deal with anxiety from a body perspective, and also NLP and all this spiritual work that I do. So
you're incredible.
To contact me.
And I think, can I just say as well that I think these different approaches, these approaches that look different anyway, sound a bit different, they're all important. And you might not know what Ayurveda is, you might not know anything about all that, but it's a valid approach. All of these ways of making life better are valid, aren't they? And maybe they suit some people, maybe they don't suit others, but it's always worth. And how are you going to know if it works for you if you don't try it?
And just know that we are resilient as humans. Our species are extremely resilient. And although these are challenging times that we're going through in different ways for everybody, that you will get through this, and that by changing your thoughts, you can change the anxiety. So recognition is key, I think. But
changing your mind. Change your mind.
Love it. So everybody, I hope this has been valuable to you. It's been, you always enlighten me, because I learn every week. I really do.
I do.
So I'm blessed.
I do too.
Yeah.
This is my personal therapy session.
Well, it is.
It's true, isn't
it? It's like we learn from each other. And the thing is, as humans, we don't know everything anyway. We're always learning. And that's the beauty of being who we are. We can learn, and we've got to be open to it, open-minded, and just be ready for what comes in. So it's a beautiful thing. So everybody have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to sign off live, and I'll be with you too, you gorgeous beast.